Greetings, YouTube land. Welcome to my channel. So, you may have noticed from this video title, this is going to be a story time about my experience as a woman in STEM. I am not only a student in STEM, but I also have a career in STEM. I'm studying computer engineering, and I am working in the tech industry as well. So the reason that I'm actually talking about being a woman in STEM today is because I've just seen all these different multi-sided propaganda pieces on, tackling the issue of women in STEM. It's like not enough women in STEM, or, like women in STEM that they are in there. It's like they're not built to succeed, or, just different crazy things. And when it comes to taking responsibility for these issues, I feel like there's these two sides. There's the side of like, it's society's problem because women are societally pressured to be stay-at-home moms and go for arts degrees. And then on the other side, it's women are just really not interested. Women are just going for things like liberal arts or gender studies. If women aren't interested, then why should we be like spending all this money to propagate some sort of exodus of women from art to STEM? If a woman wants to be in an art field, that's fine. If a woman doesn't want to pursue STEM, that's fine. And I am not here to talk about either side of what people are saying. I'm just here to share my story, my experience, and my hope is that we can stop looking at statistics and take this in a more human approach, and just maybe have some sort of an exchange. If you disagree with my experience, let me know why. If this video upsets you, just reach out to me, and maybe I'll make a follow-up or something. Maybe we'll have some discourse. Anyway, so when it comes to that, my experience of being a woman in STEM, I was neither pushed into being a woman in STEM, nor was I pushed into the arts. One of the more recent things that I had heard about me being pursuing computer engineering was from a friend who told me that they were surprised that I was in engineering because they had thought that I would have gone for a liberal arts degree. And it was just kind of nice to hear that, oh, I've got some surprises left in me. But by any stretch of the imagination, that was not a bad thing to hear. That was I took that as a compliment, because to pursue, so I don't view engineering as separate from the arts. I mean, I can say that they are certainly two distinct, different sort of categories, but sort of if you put them in a Venn diagram, there are things that do overlap. And that might be a story for another time, or a topic for another time. But I was definitely very outspoken about my interest in the arts. I used to do event decoration. I paint and I draw, and that is mostly what I would talk to my friends about, because I have a lot of very artistic friends, because since I was a kid, I always used to draw, and I drew in high school. When I got out of high school, I always gravitated to creative people, people who enjoyed the arts, and there's a lot I could speak about that, because I have so many varied interests in the arts, and if I see someone in the arts, I have a lot of stuff to talk with them about. And as I met a lot of people in the arts, I started meeting a lot of people in tech, and there was a lot to be interested about tech from what I was seeing from my friends. I didn't really have anything to speak on about, but I had actually always had an underlying interest in technology since I was like 8 years old. I had this computer I had access to, and I used to use this program that like doesn't really exist anymore called Jask Paint Shop Pro, and I used to build websites for my Neopets, and I used to make GIFs of cats for my instant messenger buddy icon. And if you were a good friend of mine, I would have made one for you as well. And I can only wish that I could be as cool now as I was then when I used to make all the cool cat icons. Anyways, I digress. So I had this like underlying nature of curiosity of tech with design, with like web design and graphic design, that was like naturally an artistic thing to me. And I did actually like get into learning like at a very young age, like CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, because I like to do like dynamic websites, and that was just a really fun thing. But you know, the friends that I met were solely focused on you know, computer science like forever. Even my friend who told me that he was surprised that I ended up in the engineering field. Like he, as a kid, used to do, you know, like very in-depth programming, and I think it was BASIC, which is like a language I never even thought to learn. You know, I never would have looked at assembly when I was a kid, which I actually did take 2 classes on that. So, you know, it's just what my natural inclinations were. This computer that was at my house as a kid, like nobody really knew what I was doing on the computer in regards to my parents or my teachers, and nobody really said anything about it. And when I was drawing, I felt like I was pretty good. I think people thought I was pretty good, but I was never really told, like, you know, like when you grow up, do you want to be an artist? Do you want to go to art school? Do you want to be a graphic designer? You know, nobody said that, and nobody said like to me, you know, like you gotta do your math and science homework, otherwise you're not going to be a biologist or an engineer. You know, like when it came to my teachers and my family, everybody just sort of wanted me to just generally do well, and you know, wanted me to make my own decisions, and as a kid to make my own decisions in what I wanted to do. You know, I was not thinking about the future of like when I'm 25, when I'm 30. I was just thinking about today, and when, you know, when each day came and it was time to do math homework, I literally had no clue what applications math had in the real world besides cooking, and I was never really interested in cooking, and I thought that how hard can cooking be, because I had seen my mom do it, and she made it look like pretty easy. It looks easy on TV, but whenever you watch someone doing math, it doesn't really ever look easy. So, and I just never also knew, like, because I didn't know the applications for it, like there was no carrot on the string, so to speak. It was like, why would I chase after this thing that's difficult if it literally looks like there is no point to it? So I sort of coasted by with the math, I was really good at English, like history, like any of the sort of like liberal arts stuff, because while I love to draw, I also and do graphic design. I also like to read and write stories, and you know, these were things that I just wanted to do like each day. You know, as a kid, as a teenager, I just never really thought of myself as pursuing writing stories as a career. Um, I, uh, you know, I actually at one point, I made, I think it was like $80 in 4 hours going on Newbury Street selling art. It was not my own art, it was for an artist. I was selling his art. Like I sold a whole bunch of prints. I think it was like $80 I made, and it was I think he said it was like a really good day for him. So he was happy with that, and you know, he got his cut, and so that was great. But he told me he had went to Mass Art and he dropped out, and you know, it was clear that he was like a pretty successful artist. You know, many artists graduate and, you know, it's like they're working in an art gallery or a museum. They're not actually making a living off of their own art. It was just like he was just doing what he wanted to do every day for himself. And that led him to go to art school, and he, you know, he decided he wanted to do it as a job. And when I asked him about it, because, you know, it's just, I like to draw. It was something I would do as like, it was a hobby. You know, people do hobbies because they're fun. And that's just all I really ever saw it as I didn't really think people would really make a living out of it. But I saw he was doing that. So I asked him about it. I said, you know, it seems like you make a living as an artist. So, you know, how does that feel? Because like, you know, I like to draw and paint and do these things, but I just never really thought of it as a career. And you know, maybe I should go to school for it. And that's where he told me, like, he dropped out of school because his teachers were very rigid in their criticisms, and you know, he did want to just have his fun with it. But he said, like, now that he makes a living off of selling his art, whenever he is creating a painting, the first thing he says to himself is, will it sell? And when he was telling me that, that was kind of a soul-crushing thing to hear. I liked to draw and paint because it's fun, and I think now if I would have to draw and paint because it has to sell, I don't think I could do it. It just, like, I connect with my art in an emotional way when I create it, and I'm sure knowing and seeing his art, the concepts like have very raw emotions, so I just feel like that would sort of torture myself to sort of squeeze out my soul onto a canvas for the purpose of like a financial exchange, and you know, thinking about putting my feelings out onto a canvas and it not selling and having that be a disappointment and not being able to appreciate the beauty you know, of the art in itself, and feeling like, you know, it's some sort of a bastard child because you know, nobody wanted to buy it. Like, that's honestly, that's just like, that's just me though. That's just me. And maybe and maybe like this experience with him was also like a unique situation. You know, maybe there's like another artist, maybe there's another artist that I could meet that would say that they love just producing art like a machine, and they produce visceral images, and they just, you know, it just comes out easy for them and they love it, whether it sells or not, but it happens to sell enough that they can make a living. I mean, that does sound like pretty ideal, but what didn't sound ideal to me is I ended up meeting, like, I have a lot of artistic and creative friends, so I have met, I had been encircled with all these artists that I knew in different fields, and I met some overlap of like creative technologists, and with that I can't even really remember like what they were doing that like with technology that was creative until I had a friend who was like a programmer and an engineer, a computer engineer, and he said that he had like a lot of technical skills, but he couldn't think of a creative project with technology, and he wanted to collaborate with someone. And as like a creative artistic person, I was just full of these ideas. So I just thought, ooh, like I had the opportunity to take advantage of someone's brain who's like really well oiled to sort of fabricate whatever sort of computerized hardware, software thing I wanted. And we came up with this project, and it was really exciting. And he did build the entire thing, and he programmed the entire thing himself, except for I provided the concepts. And it was just amazing. He would tell me that like he would do all the programming code on his morning commute to work, and I just found it fascinating that if I had an idea and I had the skills and abilities that this friend of mine would have, I could literally have my art be at the limit of my imagination in terms of what I could create. Because I do have these experiences with painting and drawing and singing, and while I may not be good at them, there's just so many fundamental things about computer engineering that it's really hard to take a cursory look into. You can certainly do instructables, you can certainly like whittle here and there, cracking away some free courses for electrical engineering and hardware and networks, but I really just feel like fundamentally at that point it clicked to me that I really wanted to pursue a degree in computer engineering, because while I knew I didn't want to make a career out of making art, I did want to improve my creative abilities. I did want to, go to school and learn. I did want to further my life, and I did want to have a successful, meaningful career with like a real sense of accomplishment and appreciation and ability to sort of move forward. I didn't want to be stuck as some sort of office manager, like just stuffing envelopes. I want to like bring solutions and change to people in the world and businesses and all that hokey stuff. So I realized like if I did computer engineering, I could have my creation, my artistic visions be like the limit of my imagination, and the career aspect would be, something in the computer field. I had done a certificate in nurse assisting, and I knew I wanted to help people. This was like a really like short period in my life of like when I was like trying different jobs to see what I like doing, and so I was trying to do the nurse assisting thing, and what happened with that is that like I just saw like people in some pretty sad positions, and it just seemed like something that was like really sad, and seeing people in this like state of like helplessness, and like really all you can really do is sort of like you just try to make them more comfortable, but you can't really like, I don't know, it's just also sort of seeing blood and things like that. It was just too much for me. So knew I wanted to help people, knew I didn't want to see blood, knew I didn't want to put like my emotions into a job, because I feel like that would be a back and forth of like I'm putting in, what am I getting out, and but with working in a STEM field, you know, you're analytical, you're logical, you're using like quantitative thinking, you're solving problems, whether you're a scientist, it's like research problems, could be medical problems, like you could be doing like surgery on somebody's heart if you can handle the blood. Like those are great things. Like even the nursing is fine, but like it wasn't really like the nurse assisting that I was doing was like you know, you would just like clean people. You wouldn't really be it's not really a science of like the body. You're really just the most technical or scientific that you get is like measuring blood pressure, where I would think like with nursing and understanding about medications and understanding about the whole like musculoskeletal system, like that's where you really need to use your logic and your quantitative thinking, and you know, so you don't have to put your emotions as much. I mean, well, except with a nurse, like you do have to care about your patients, but there's like this portion of like you're not thinking about, you know, it's not like primarily emotion based. Like being an artist is like, you know, you have to feel the colors, like even if it's a graphic design and not just like conceptual art. If you're doing like a corporate brand logo, like you have to get like, I feel that this represents your brand. And like I'll still do some of that, but it's just not primarily what I do. You know, I have the ability, I just don't want to make that like my living. It's good that working in technology, while most everything I do is based off of logic, decisions, you know, making decisions, my skills of reasoning and evaluating issues. You know, sometimes you do sort of have to put emotion into it, but it's like this, it's like an accent. It's just like, you know, like a technology system is only as good as the people that can ensure that it's running for a meaningful purpose. You can have a machine that counts numbers and it can just, you know, spout out all these numbers and make these decisions. But if you don't have a person there to interpret like the work that's being done, is it helping? Is it achieving the goals? You don't really have a good system there if there's not like that human touch involved. And so, you know, I think, you know, as technology becomes more adaptive to user interface and user experience, like that's been, you know, this like growing field of like human computer interaction, things like virtual reality, HoloLens, like, you know, Microsoft's probably going to incorporate that more in the business world when you can have like your personal business computer running like all your stock tips, like, you know, on this side of your field of vision while you're like reading your Q2 reports on this side. Like you need to have this ability to understand like how this user experience like makes someone feel, and so you need to be able to like be in touch with this like artistic and creative vision. In my opinion, that's why you know, my other experience as a woman in STEM is that because I like the arts a lot, I get told that you know, it's like, are you sure, you know, like you've always been so creative, like are you sure this is what you want to do? I see, you know, people had seen me torturing myself with my math and schoolwork. I actually, so if you made it to the video this far, you're going to get a treat. I have here my math grades. This is also my experience as a woman in STEM. So here you can see back in 2014, I got an F. Geez, yeah, you can see that's an F. It's circled in red. I got an F in college algebra 1. My professor in that course would get, like, you know, this is like before midterms even in that course. I would ask any sort of question. He would call me up to the board. I would be stuck, and just whenever something like that would happen, he would get mad. He would like raise his voice and just be like, "Oh, like, did you read the homework?" And like you know, at the end of that class, like, he said, like, "You're never going to be an engineer. You're never going to pass this class." Like, he thought that I was the worst one in the class, but I actually, like, I was trying really hard. Maybe because I didn't like agree with him when he was, you know, speaking down to me, and so you know, maybe that's why he felt like he had to pull me aside and tell me to, like, quit trying to be an engineer. But like, I tried to do a study group after class with some of my other classmates, and there was this really nice woman who was actually like a mother. I think she was like a new mother, and like, she was struggling, and because I actually took like some online training for this class before I joined, and so I might have like had a little leg up than she did. I think she told me she had been out of math classes for like longer than I had. And so yeah, when I was working with her, like, I saw, like, you know, my professor, like, obviously thinks I'm dumb or something, but like, I'm definitely not the worst one in this class. And even the ones who are the worst ones in the class, like, they're not bad. They're just having trouble. My professor is the worst one, because when somebody has trouble in a class, it's not them who are bad, it's the teacher. And I understand, like, sometimes students do bad in a class when they are not trying, but like, when your students ask questions, that means that they're trying. So if you're getting mad at your students for asking questions, if you're raising your voice at them, like, they should know the answer to the question you're asking, why are you even there? If students don't need to ask questions, what is your job? If school was a thing where people just took tests and got things right all the time, what is the purpose of it? What is an education? If like, I hope that makes sense enough. That could be a rant. I'm not gonna go there. So yeah, this professor told me, like, I'll fail, I'll never do it. So I failed his course. And then I took pre-algebra right after, the following semester. So that was, I took it, sorry, fall, oh yeah, so the winter is the next year. So I did take it right after. And I got a C+. And my teacher was really nice when I asked her questions. And, you know, it was like, I had not taken math in a long time when I was a kid. Like, I didn't understand why math was important, but, you know, I realized, like, I need to know math to program, and I need to know how to program to build these cool, like, robots and stuff and inventions that I want to make. Now I know why I want to do the work, and have all, you know, I wanted to do it, so I would work harder. You know, so this asshole, whatever, first professor, he was like a jerk, but then I like took the next class and I did pretty good. And so after pre-algebra, like pre-algebra technically was not obviously part of the curriculum for my undergraduate. The college algebra 1 was, but I failed that. So I failed college algebra 1 because I had the worst professor in the world. Then instead of retaking that class, because I think he was also the only one available, so I took pre-algebra to get ready, and I passed that class with the C+. It's like that's just a little small sliver into getting a B, and people tell me all the time like a B is a great grade. Don't even try to get for an A because who really cares about A's? Well, I do, and that's probably for another video. Anyways, so C+, pretty dang good for someone who had just been told to like never try to be an engineer and that I'll never pass the college algebra 1 math class. Anyways, after pre-algebra, I had to take algebra 1 again. And I did not have this professor. And I did not get an F. I did not get a C in that class. You know what grade I got? I got an A- in college algebra 1. And that was after the professor here had told me I failed that class and I would never pass it. And then I passed it with an A. And it's not because he told me I couldn't pass it. I was not doing it to prove him wrong. I was not doing it to prove women in STEM statistics are wrong. I was not proving it wrong. I was not trying to prove anything. I, for one, wanted to pass the class because I need it for my degree. 2, I realized that math is for more than just cooking. It's for quantitative thinking. It's for logic and reasoning skills and abilities. You can use it in finance. In the higher level maths beyond algebra, it's it's like debatable if that is useful for everyday stuff. But I have to say I passed actually calculus with an A, and I will be taking calculus 2 soon. What's that? That's my cat. Hey, baby. Hey, come say hi. So, are you farting? Anyways, yeah, I'm taking like college algebra 2 soon. It's a lot of cat hair in my face, and I like it. I'm taking it because I need it for my degree. I need it for quantitative thinking, logic, and reasoning abilities, and it's gonna help me. Part of being an artist is having your imagination, and like, yeah, they say that's all the right brain, but anything with your brain, anything that goes on inside your head is part of your imagination. So if you develop like the stronger ability to do math, you just have this ability to think in more scale. Like, what if I wanted to make a huge sculpture? Now I know how to do computer-aided design, and I could do my own 3D printing instead of like a lot of artists that are just traditional artists. If they want to do something in a scale, they have to contract somebody out to assist them. And so I just wanted to be that person who is completely dependent upon my own reasoning and my own, feelings. And I have to say I'm pretty happy with the decisions I've made. It's not been easy being a woman in STEM, but then again, I am the only part of my experience that makes it difficult. I had to learn time management. I had to learn how to develop better study habits. Um, I had to learn how to just, not get caught up in things that statistics and the media say. I have to say, I feel like it's pretty unhealthy, the fact that, like, I myself, as who knows how many women, are going onto their Windows 10 computers, and the Microsoft loading screen is telling them only 6% of women graduate in STEM degrees. Why do I need to see that statistic? Is that supposed to make me feel special because, not many women do it? Or is it actually, a sign saying, like, hey, yeah, you're pursuing STEM, but just remember, only 6% of women graduate, so you're probably not cut from the cloth to be an engineer because, this isn't really a thing that women do. Like, I don't like that whole thing about, like, this is what, how society needs to treat women that are in STEM and pursue STEM, and this is how society should, like, not be concerned about the progress of women in STEM. I think that we should just be supportive of whatever people want, not what people with agendas want, but just, like, I'm talking about actual people. Like, I'm working on my program. It's difficult. When it's difficult, don't tell me, like, oh, don't you think you should just do something a little easier, like the arts? I don't need to hear that. And I also don't need to hear about how, because I'm a woman in STEM, now I have all these advantages. I don't want to get jobs because I am a woman. I want to get jobs on my merit. It's like maybe I could get a job because I am a woman, but I want to be successful. And so, with these things about people tell me, oh, you can get a job because you're a woman in STEM. Well, yeah, I could get a job, but am I going to be accomplished and successful as a woman in STEM? Once I've got my foot in the door, like, there's, only so far that, privileges can get you. And aside from that, I'm just a little uncomfortable about the whole concept of creating this propaganda around discrimination based on gender. Or, yeah, I feel like we have laws that, protect us from discrimination. I mean, I think I said it in this video again, like, what else can you do? You can force companies to hire more women, but you can't force women to be successful in their field and produce more than they have the ability to do. You know, regardless if they have the qualifications, once they're in the door, you know, like the woman has to bring herself, and you know, if there's roadblocks there, it's like not, that's a different issue. Alright, so this video has gone on long enough. I really don't know what more to add because I am really just trying to keep it to my experience as a woman in STEM. I really hope that my experience was insightful and helpful for you, whether you're a teacher, a parent, or a student, or someone who, female or male who is, you know, like knows a woman, or you are a woman who is interested in pursuing STEM education or job, and you know, just so you know the experience there. Like ultimately, you know, it's not like just because it might not be easy doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. You know, everybody's experience being a woman in STEM is different. You know, there's no, I don't think that there's a thing of, there's a rule and then like maybe I'm an exception to the rule, or, you know, some other woman with a different experience is an exception to the rule. You know, because I don't think that, I don't think that people should make their decision about what they want to pursue as a passion based upon a statistic. I don't know, if nobody ever took risks, how would we innovate and change and grow as a society? So anyways, don't really know how to end this video without saying bye-bye.